Blade & Soul has a better PvP system than WhereWindsMeet. Or has it? As a seasoned Blade & Soul player myself, I've had the opportunity to play various PvP modes in Blade & Soul and see its evolution throughout the years. Despite being not particularly great at it, I've PvP'd enough to be able to explain a few things and to be able to compare the PvP systems of Blade & Soul and WhereWindsMeet and speculate further on it. Starting with the similarities, both Blade & Soul and WhereWindsMeet are action combat games, so PvP is gonna be way more involved than other games might be. Both games feature escape abilities to get out of CCs, which is crowd control. Let's say in Blade & Soul you get stunned, or dazed, or knocked down, you will be able to get out of it. Also out of combos unless you're launched. In WhereWindsMeet is quite similar. I don't have all the details on it, but you have abilities to get out of CCs, which is amazing and great because we need that. Otherwise it's just a CC fest and you don't want that. Both games feature 1v1 and 3v3, the arena. So that means it's all skill based and your gear does not matter at all, which is a great thing. In WhereWindsMeet, I know gear does not matter as much as skill. I don't know how much gear does matter or how much it does not matter, but at least we have 1v1 and 3v3. But there are similarities to the 3v3. More on that later. Both games feature battlegrounds. In Blade & Soul it's called battlegrounds. I don't know what it's called in WhereWindsMeet. Maybe it's like Clan War or something. I don't know. But I have seen it before and it looks quite similar to Blade & Soul. Maybe here and there it's a little bit different, but in general the premise seems to be very similar, where you have to capture an objective, go back to your own base to score points. Meanwhile, you can get targeted by the other team and get killed. So you have to work together and be a little bit smart about it, which is very fun and interesting. But in Blade & Soul that's not equalized at all, so your gear does matter a lot. So wailing out in that game helps a lot. Skill does matter, but having great gear will help a lot. And I'm not sure whether that's equalized gear or not in WhereWindsMeet, but I hope it does. But we will see when the game releases and I try it out myself. Further, we also have overworld PvP in both Blade & Soul and WhereWindsMeet. In Blade & Soul it works a little bit different than it does in WhereWindsMeet, where you have certain areas where you can just freely PvP in Blade & Soul, despite not wearing faction outfits. Because usually you will have a Cerulean outfit and a Crimson Legion outfit, and if you wear one of them and another player wears the other, you will be able to fight one another PvP. Otherwise you cannot target one another and fight. But there are certain areas where you are able to actually attack one another no matter the outfit you're wearing. So faction outfit does not matter in all areas, but most areas it does. So you need to have and wear opposing faction outfits to actually be able to PvP in the overworld. In WhereWindsMeet you can PvP in overworld, but I'll talk about that a little bit later, because it is a little bit different than you might be used to. Now for some of the differences in WhereWindsMeet compared to Blade & Soul PvP is balance. Supposedly in WhereWindsMeet balancing is much better, and it's done so well to the point that the Chinese players say it doesn't matter what weapon you use, because in WhereWindsMeet you don't select classes, you have one character and you can use any weapon of your choosing at any time. You just select two weapons and are able to fight with both of them consecutively, not at the same time, because you switch around with weapons. Let's say I have a sword and a fan. You can attack with sword, swap to fan and attack with fan, and then swap back to sword. You don't use it at the same time, but you can swap whenever you want your combos. And apparently it's so well balanced that you can play pretty much anything you want, any combination, and you'll be just fine if you have the skill for it. Otherwise you might be fucked. So it's very skill based and not so much focused on your gear, which is a great point I want to see in these kind of game modes, as it's more fair and way more fun. It can be way more punishing too if you're just not skilled, but instead of pointing at the game and saying he is more geared than I am, or he spent more, or whatever, it's all on you. You can become better by just playing more, understanding the game better, and just practicing. It's like a fighting game, like Tekken for example. If you lose, there is a clear reason why you lose, and you can fix that by just practicing and doing the best you can, learning your combos, learning the setups, learning your matchup, and that will help so much. So it seems like WhereWindsMeet is going to be better in that regard than Blade & Soul, as Blade & Soul went to shit honestly after the Awakening patch, and definitely also pay to win in the game in certain modes. It's horrendous. WhereWindsMeet also feature lower damage for combos, meaning if I do a very hard hitting combo in Blade & Soul, I might take like 80% of your HP and have only 20% left for your HP bar and to kill you, which is not so much. So killing you is going to be much easier in Blade & Soul if you land a full combo first and then have to hunt someone down and kill him. So it takes a little bit less skill after the first initial combo. It does take skill, I know, it does take still quite a bit of skill, but since in WhereWindsMeet you do not deal that much damage, you will have to be aware no matter what. It's not like landing the first hard hitting combo is almost guaranteeing you to win. It doesn't really matter that much, and I'm a big fan for that actually. I'm a big advocate for it, which I want to see more in Tekken as well. I'm not saying Blade & Soul is easy. Blade & Soul is definitely a really hard game in PvP. It's a really hard game, but it is very different in that regard, and I prefer WhereWindsMeet in this regard. Blade & Soul is amazing PvP wise when balanced. Lower damage would be nice, but it is very cool and exciting to see the high damage combos, and it is a very great spectacle if you have the esports events, which we used to have. I haven't seen anything about it in the past few years, so I don't think it's there anymore, but it is very sick and cool. So don't take me wrong, I just think lower damage would be a little bit more beneficial and more interesting as a player myself. Going back to action combat, as I was talking about before, and the similarities, there are differences. Blade & Soul is more like action combat / MMO combat style. Blade & Soul is more focused on stance-based combat or requirement-based combat, where you have to do X to do Y to do Z or Z, if you will. And in WhereWindsMeet, it seems to be more like a traditional fighting game, but without stances. So you can do X and Y whenever you want, and maybe there is one skill or maybe two skills a lot behind stances. I don't really know about that, or buffs or something. I don't know too much about it, but it seems like it's going to be a little bit simpler in that regard. Not necessarily worse or better than Blade & Soul, it's just different. There's also blocking and parrying for every character, as you can just block any incoming attack or parry any incoming attack in PvP, whereas in Blade & Soul you don't have that for every class. Like a Blade Master can parry and block, but for example a Blade Dancer cannot regularly block or block in general. Blade Dancer will have their tap skill to spin around and take less damage, but they will still take damage. That being said, in WhereWindsMeet, you also take damage when blocking, unless you parry. So parry will deflect all damage and block will decrease the damage amount, just like a Blade Dancer will do when they use the tap skill to decrease the amount of damage they take. WhereWindsMeet's combat is more like an action RPG than it's an MMO, and for Blade & Soul it's slightly more an MMO than RPG, so you will notice that. But Blade & Soul is also very much like a fighting game, and WhereWindsMeet is just a little bit different. I cannot really explain everything yet, and I might be a little bit wrong here on this point, so feel free to correct me in the comments down below and tell me how wrong I am, if I got anything wrong. By the way, if you like this video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share the video with your friends, family, anyone you know. I've put plenty of time working on this video, trying to make it as good as I possibly can at this moment. I will do my best to make it even better in the near future. WhereWindsMeet, my overworld combat is gonna be a little bit different, so the PvP in the overworld is a little bit different. As far as I know, all you can do is challenge someone to a duel, to 1v1 duel. I haven't seen 3v3, 5v5 or more, but I have seen 1v1. You have to challenge them and then you go to maybe an arena, or just there's a section in the map where you can PvP. I don't know too much about this, so please let me know if you know more, because I would love to know that. And I've seen videos where people then start just doing a duel and PvPing in the overworld, but no one else can interrupt and get in between you, which can be nice but also annoying. I'm fine with it as long as we are capable of doing overall PvP like we used to do in Blackwidow. We just PvP whenever we want with anyone we like. We can interrupt people, we can just gank people, so like walk around when they are fighting someone else and then attack them and kill them, which is fun to do. It's annoying for that player, but it's just a fun feature to have in the game. So you have someone targeted. You need to have your mouse over them to be able to actually attack them, or actually soft lock on them, because Blackwidow has a soft lock feature. It's not fully action combat, as in you have to always aim perfectly. For most abilities it is like that. Some skills in Blackwidow require a target to lock on before you can actually utilize and use the skills you have on your hotbar. Whereas in WhereWindsMeet, you can always use any skill at any time, so you might miss more often in WhereWindsMeet than in Blackwidow, making it much more difficult to win in PvP if you just slightly whiff, meaning miss your attack. Whereas in Blackwidow, certain attacks you cannot really miss unless someone SS's, which is a back dash, or a Q or E, which is a evasion skill, or maybe a home block, which is a kind of immortality block for like 3 to 5 seconds for 3 hits. If I'm correct, maybe a little bit more, but that's what I have in my head, on top of my head right now. So that's quite different and interesting. It's gonna be quite a bit more like a fighting game in that regard. That's why I think WhereWindsMeet might feel more like a fighting game to me than Blackwidow, even though it feels like a fighting game. I have to test it out myself when I get my hands on the game and see whether this is fully true or not, but it seems like it is true for the PvP videos I've seen, and it looks very interesting and cool. I don't know if I will be a fan of it, but at this point of time it seems like it's a cool addition, because it enforces you to become really good at the game, timing everything well. Like electrics in Tekken, for example, you do an electric but you whiff. Even though it's a great move, if you whiff, you kind of fucked up and you can get hit. You can get punished for it. Whereas in Blackwidow, there are certain skills you cannot use at all if you don't lock onto the target, and that takes that skill away from you. At least a little bit, because there are plenty of skills you can still use and whiff in Blackwidow. There's also a difference of 3v3 in the WhereWindsMeet, where all 3 players are on field at all times. Whereas in Blackwidow you have a tag system where you can tag someone in when you are low, or when you want to swap out with your teammate for whatever reason. But there's also a feature in Blackwidow where someone can tag in while you are being attacked to help you out for a few seconds before them taking out again, and you stay on field or swapping. I'm not pretty sure which one exactly happened again. I think they tag in for just a few seconds and get out for a few seconds and then again. after a few seconds you will be left alone again. But in WhereWindsMeet, you are with all three on field at all times, so it can be really hectic. And there is also a role distribution in WhereWindsMeet, which is not really the case in Blade & Soul. In Blade & Soul, you just do the PvP, and if you can heal one another, I don't think you even can, but if you can, that helps, that's nice, but you don't necessarily go for that. In WhereWindsMeet, what I've seen and heard of is you have 2 DPS and 1 healer in a team. And that's how you usually play, at least that's very popular in China apparently. I don't know if that will be the case when the game releases for us, but that's what I've seen so far. So it might be like you have 2 DPS, 1 healer, so you have to protect one another very well, especially the healer. So you have to protect the healer, but make sure that you are also not dying, because the healer has to take the time and target you to heal you. So it's kind of similar like older MMOs, or at least Trinity system MMOs, where you have the Holy Trinity, the tank, DPS and healer. I'm not really sure how that exactly works, but that's what I've seen and heard so far from CN, so I'll take this with a grain of salt right now. There are also very unique PvP modes in WhereWindsMeet. I don't know if you can necessarily call it all PvP modes, but it is very unique. One of which is PvP can happen when player is in jail and they decide to break out. Then other players can interact with you and fight you. I don't know how this works exactly, I haven't seen it, but I know it exists. So when you try to break out, other players can opt in and try to kill you because you're trying to break out. That's all I know right now. So if you know more, please let me know. I am very interested in that. There's also solo world infiltration PvP. So when you have a bounty on your head, no matter if you play in your solo world, as long as you have a bounty on your head, I don't know if it's at any bounty level or at a certain bounty level that you can be attacked by other players, but players can infiltrate in your world, and no matter what you're doing, they can attack you to retrieve their bounty. So be aware what you're doing in the game, because there's 2 ways of getting bounties that I know of. One of which is being a criminal in game. So killing NPCs and committing crimes will raise your bounty level. If that's at a certain level, I guess, people will be able to infiltrate your world and attack you to claim that bounty. There's a second way, and that is players can put a bounty on your head, and that makes you a target for other players. So other players will infiltrate your world and attack you to retrieve the bounty. So that's a feature in the game, and it's very interesting. I don't know if it gets really annoying or if it's just fine, but it seems interesting. I'm not really sure whether I will like it or not, but I will definitely do it to my friends. I'll put a bounty on them and then have my friends attack one another. It's gonna be fun, it's gonna be hectic. What will you do with that? And my final point for the difference is not really a difference, because players used to have this as well. Battle Royale, equal as Battle Royale, which was amazing and super fun in Blade & Soul, honestly. I loved it. I don't know why they took it away from us, because I really enjoyed it. And if you have any idea why they took it away, please let me know, because that was one of the games I enjoyed the most, even though I'm not necessarily a Battle Royale player. We do have it in WhereWindsMeet, and so far it seems very interesting and fun, and very similar to Shackled Owls, which we had in Blade & Soul. Other not confirmed things, ideations from either me or the community, will be discussed right now, so take this with a big pinch of salt, big grain of salt, because this has not been confirmed. WhereWindsMeet might require more skill due to the action combat system they utilize than Blade & Soul with the non-target locking skills. I have discussed this already a little bit before. I don't know whether it's going to be more difficult or not, but it seems like it will be, and I'm all for it. emphasizes combos less, it seems, and emphasizes raw mechanical skill and setups mind games more. I can be wrong with that, but it feels more that way. So, like Tekken, because I'm a Tekken player too, combos are the option you have. You have that option, you have that route, and you will use it. But it's not what you focus on that much. It's all mind games. And yes, Blade & Soul is a lot of mind games too. But combos are more devastating. Just like in Tekken, combos are very devastating in that game too. So Tekken and Blade & Soul are in that regard very similar, especially Tekken 8, where you have the heat system, the bounce and everything. It's so convoluted and so much. So there is that. I don't know if it's going to be more difficult or not, but it seems like it might be more difficult in some regards, whereas Blade & Soul is going to be more difficult in other regards. So both games are very tactical, or technical, don't know which one I should use for this case, but they will appeal to different people. About the battleground mode, I hope and wish for an equalized battleground mode in WhereWindsMeet, because that game mode is just really fun to do. You can team up with your friends and play battlegrounds, and no matter what gear level you have, all that matters is skill and tactics. So you have to think about what you're doing, retrieve the flags or whatever you have to capture and get it to your base to gain points. Hopefully it's that way, that it's equalized gear, so anyone can participate no matter what. Because in Blade & Soul it was fun to do, because I have done it at the very beginning of my road. So back in 2016, maybe a little bit in 2017, but after that I never played it again, because one, it was hard to find matches, and two, my gear was not on par with anyone there. I was way below. Also, I'm not that skilled at PvP, as you all know. I'm not a big PvP player in Blade & Soul, and one might say I am absolutely horrendous, and that's fucking true. I'm saying it myself, it's true. But yeah, I hope it's going to be equalized gear, because it will make me play the game mode more. Finally, there might be a potential for group evasion in private worlds, because when you put a bounty, or when a player has a bounty on their head, multiple players might be able to infiltrate into that world and attack the player. So it would be fun if I could group up with my friends, infiltrate the world and attack the player. But also it would be really nice and just interesting if those infiltrating players could fight each other to be able to gain the full bounty instead of sharing the bounty when they kill the player that has a bounty on their head. That would be really cool if you can decide whether you want to share the reward or take it all for yourself by killing everyone, or at least being the one that takes out the one with bounty on their head. That would be really cool and interesting. It would suck for the player that has a bounty on their head though, but it would be very interesting and fun. Maybe there will be a countermeasure, like you can call in your friends and you have a bounty on your head to help you out. If that is an option, that would be very cool and interesting too, and it would make it a little bit more balanced and a little bit more fair for the player who has a bounty on their head. That being said, what do you guys think of the PvP in Blade & Soul and WhereWindsMeet? Which game do you prefer and why? What do you wish WhereWindsMeet features and has, or changes on the formula Blade & Soul had, or maybe other games? And what are you looking most forward to at WhereWindsMeet? Do you want to go PvP, fishing, mini games, just dungeons and raids, overworld PvP, overworld bosses, committing crimes and arson if you can, killing NPCs, robbing people of their horses? You name it. What do you want to do? What are you looking forward to most? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm very curious. I'm looking forward to do all of it, especially jail time. I want to see the jail PvP. how it is and what the chill time and sentences will be like. I want to see that. I want to have the difficulty very high against bosses and PvP very difficult, but fair and not too complicated. Like not having too many skills. But we already have quite a lot of skills, like the martial arts skills. You can select your weapons, as you have 2 weapons at all times, and you can combine it how you want. There's also specializations of weapons, so it's very interesting. So it's gonna be complicated for sure, and it's gonna be a little bit more different, kind of complicated than Blade & Soul, as you have different combination of weapons, which is the biggest differentiator, I think. Which combat system do you prefer? Tell me why. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you hyped for this game to release, or do you prefer Blade & Soul? And will you stick playing Blade & Soul, Blade & Soul Neo, or maybe Blade & Soul Heroes for some odd reason? That being said, hope you liked this video and see you in the next one.